Welcome back, guys. We have huge updates on Social Security increases and the next two stimulus packages. Now, the COLA adjustment is expected to be 6% for 2022, and we should have the official announcement for that in just about a week. But currently, Congress is facing the debt ceiling crisis, and we've talked about it on this channel, that if the government did not increase the debt ceiling, there is a chance that Social Security payments could be frozen, and even things like Medicare and food stamps. But the good news is, Chuck Schumer just announced that they have a deal to extend the debt limit until December of this year. Now, this would just be a short-term fix, but it does bring us one step closer to getting the next two stimulus packages done, as well as increasing Social Security benefits. Now, they're supposed to vote on this tonight, so by the time you're watching this video, there's a good chance that vote has already taken place. But as far as what's happening now, let's discuss the details in this video. But before we do, please do me a huge favor, hit the like button on this video and subscribe. It really goes a long way in supporting my work. I also have a second channel, so if you could do me a huge favor, click on the link that's in the description of this video, subscribe to my second channel. I'm going to be giving away a stimulus check on that channel just as a thank you for supporting my work. Now, that channel is going to have some news on stimulus and Social Security benefits just like this one, but I'm going to be on camera, and we're also going to do a lot of fun things like play bingo, play the lottery, announce lottery winning numbers when the Powerball numbers are announced. So we're going to do a lot of fun stuff on that channel. So guys, please subscribe. It really goes a long way in supporting my work. I'm actually doing this full time now. So my family truly does appreciate your support because all of my income is coming from making these videos and sharing updates on Social Security and stimulus with all of you guys. So I really appreciate all of your support. Now, let's talk about Chuck Schumer's announcement. He made an announcement that he has come to a deal with Republicans to extend the debt limit deal until December, avoiding a shutdown for now, and allowing them to continue working on the next two stimulus packages, which, remember, that stimulus package might include a $1,000 stimulus check. That is something that Bernie Sanders is genuinely trying to include in this package. He's calling it a voucher, and it's supposed to be to help you pay for your medical costs until Medicare is expanded, but that would be a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors. On top of that, we're trying to expand Social Security benefits, as well as expand Medicare and funding for affordable housing. Now, as far as the current deal, Chuck Schumer said that he expects to bring this to a vote tonight, so it will officially be signed into law, but there's a chance it could be delayed until this weekend. So depending on when you're watching this video, it's possible that they already voted and approved this fully, or they might be extending that and delaying it until this weekend. Now, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican Leader Mitch McConnell have said in words that they have a deal to avoid the immediate threat of default by shifting the debt limit deadline to early December. This is really good news because, as we've talked about on this channel, although not for sure, some experts think that if the debt ceiling crisis actually happened, that Social Security payments could be frozen. Now, that's up for debate. Some experts think that that wouldn't happen because technically the Social Security Administration has a trust fund that they could tap into, but how quickly they could tap into that is in question. Some experts think it would take a few months for them to actually tap into that fund, and based on the way the government works, it wouldn't be surprising to see the Social Security Administration take a few months to get that done, which means, yes, it is a possibility that if the government actually shut down and they defaulted on their debts, yes, it is possible Social Security payments could be frozen. So the fact that Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell have an agreement in words to extend the debt limit till December is really good news for everybody on Social Security. Now, Schumer, who is the Democratic Senate Majority Leader, announced this agreement on the Senate floor this morning on Thursday and said that he hopes to pass this bill by as early as this afternoon, which would increase the borrowing limit by $480 billion. The Treasury Department estimates that that amount should be sufficient to keep the debt payments flowing until December 3rd. Now, this agreement does nothing to resolve the broader standoff between the two parties over how to pass a long-term solution. This is just a short-term solution, so they would have to figure this out in about a month or two, but it would give Democrats time to find a solution, possibly including it in their next stimulus package. Mitch McConnell went to the Senate floor shortly after this deal was announced to reiterate that he wants Democrats to use budget reconciliation to pass the debt limit hike, a plan that Democrats don't want to do. See, Mitch McConnell wants Democrats to include the debt ceiling increase in their stimulus package, so when it comes to the elections in 2022, he can blame Democrats for increasing the debt and saying Republicans had nothing to do with it. Now, usually Democrats and Republicans come together and they both vote to raise the debt limit increase, so nobody can take blame because they did it together. But Mitch McConnell is using this as a political tool to try and win those elections in 2022 and take control of the House and the Senate, basically making President Biden a sitting duck for the last 2 years he has in office. Now, this is why Democrats don't want to include it in the stimulus package, on top of the fact that it's going to make it even more difficult to get the stimulus package done. Now, Mitch McConnell said, "The pathway that our Democratic colleagues have accepted will spare the American people any near-term crisis while definitively resolving the majority's excuse that they lack the time to address the debt limit through the reconciliation process. Now there will be no question they have plenty of time." So what Mitch McConnell is saying here is that he's only giving them this short-term solution until December 3rd to give Democrats enough time to actually include it in their stimulus package, which is the reconciliation process. Because quite frankly, there is no way Democrats would get this done in 2 weeks, which is the current deadline. They need an extension, even if they're going to include it in that stimulus package. Now, some Republicans are slamming Mitch McConnell, saying, "Why are you making things easier for Democrats? Why are you giving them an extra 2 months to get this done?" And this is Mitch McConnell's reason. Just so Democrats have no excuse, they can't blame Republicans, because currently Democrats could say, "Hey, Republicans didn't give us enough time. It's Republicans' fault that the government is going to shut down and we're not going to be able to pay out Social Security payments." In Mitch McConnell's opinion, giving them this extension takes away that excuse from Democrats. Now, with that said, Democrats are saying that they are not going to include it in their budget reconciliation process. They said they are not going to cave to Mitch McConnell's demands, and they argue that tying the debt limit to the budget reconciliation creates a dangerous precedent and allows Republicans to skirt their responsibility for debt that has already been accrued. See, Democrats are saying that raising the debt ceiling is actually not to pay for future stimulus and not to pay for future Social Security increases, but really it is to pay for things that have already been approved. So the last 3 stimulus packages, all of the tax cuts that President Trump approved, this debt ceiling is to pay for those things on top of the things that Democrats approved previously as well. So Democrats are saying it's just simply not fair to make Democrats raise it themselves, take the blame for increasing the debt, when really this is just to pay for things that have already been approved previously, half of which has been approved by Republicans previously. Now, reconciliation allows the Senate to pass some budget and spending-related legislation without the threat of a filibuster, but it has limitations. It is traditionally a tool that can only be used once every fiscal year. Now, recent interpretations from the Senate parliamentarian, the nonpartisan rule keeper in the Senate, allowed for some narrow exceptions to a once-a-year rule, but it is still a limited tool. Basically, the parliamentarian is letting Democrats do 2 budget reconciliations in 1 calendar year. Remember, the last budget reconciliation was the last stimulus package, which had that 3rd stimulus check. So bottom line here, we have a verbal agreement by Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer saying they're going to increase the debt limit until December 3rd, avoiding a government shutdown and avoiding even a chance of Social Security benefits being frozen. Now, that is the short-term solution. Long term, we still don't have a solution, and we still have an argument here because McConnell wants to make Democrats included in their stimulus package, to blame them for raising the debt and try and win the re-elections in 2022. Democrats are still pushing back on this. Now, realistically, experts think at the end of the day, Democrats are going to have no choice but to include it in that next stimulus package because, quite frankly, if Republicans put their foot down, there's really nothing Democrats can do. Now, this will complicate negotiations. We already have Joe Manchin, Bernie Sanders, and all the Democrats in between arguing over exactly what to include in that stimulus package. So you can imagine adding the debt limit increase would make things even worse. Now, Bernie Sanders wants to include $1,000 stimulus checks for seniors. We don't really think that Joe Manchin wants to include that. So you can see why this would make negotiations even more difficult. Now, we do expect this to come to a vote tonight. As I'm making this video, Senate Republicans are actually trying to get unanimous consent from every single Republican senator to bring this to a vote tonight and fully sign it into law. Now, some Republicans are trying to get all of their colleagues to give unanimous consent to move the debt ceiling to the floor this Thursday rather than having to wait until Saturday. Now, if the Senate does manage to get unanimous consent to move the debt ceiling increase, this bill could be voted on and passed tonight. Now, there are multiple Senate Republicans who are upset that Minority Leader Mitch McConnell agreed to this temporary increase, so it's not actually clear as to whether or not they're going to have the votes tonight, but most likely by the time you're watching this video, it's already been passed. If not, they're going to do it on Saturday. Now, fellow Republican Lindsey Graham said, "I don't like using reconciliation to fundamentally change America to a socialist spending agenda. So why the heck would I make it easier for them to raise the debt ceiling through regular order? We had a strategy, we've abandoned this." So see, a lot of Republicans are slamming McConnell for giving Democrats an extra 2 months to get this done. Now, guys, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Do you think Mitch McConnell folded to Democrats, or do you think he did the right thing by giving them a couple of months just to give them time to include it in the stimulus package? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, Mitch McConnell responded to this directly and posted on his Twitter, "My new statement on the Democrats' self-created debt limit crisis. The unified Democratic government had 2.5 months to address the debt limit through reconciliation. Instead, they drifted to the doorstep of yet another self-created Democratic crisis." Basically, he is saying that Democrats already had 3 months to get this done, and they've been dragging their feet arguing about the stimulus package when they should have been solving this debt limit crisis to begin with. Whether through miscalculation or a deliberate effort to bully their own members into wrecking the Senate, top Democrats have risked adding a default crisis to the inflation crisis, border crisis, and the Afghanistan crisis that they have already created. See, Mitch McConnell using this as an opportunity to say that Democrats have created all of these issues. He is saying that they created an inflation crisis by approving a lot of stimulus, a border crisis by not protecting the border, and the Afghan crisis by not pulling out of Afghanistan properly. Now, on top of this, he's saying that this debt ceiling crisis was created by Democrats because they didn't address this sooner. Instead, they were spending their time arguing about the stimulus package. Now, he also went on to say that Republicans remain the only party with a plan to prevent default. "We have already made it clear we would assist in expediting the reconciliation process for standalone debt limit legislation." Basically, what that's saying is Mitch McConnell offered Democrats, hey, let's just use the budget reconciliation process just solely to increase the debt limit and completely keep the stimulus package out of it. Obviously, that's completely unacceptable, and the American people need stimulus. So in my opinion, that was really an insincere solution by Mitch McConnell. Democrats are not going to completely abandon the stimulus package, right? So Mitch McConnell went on to say, "To protect the American people from a near-term Democratic-created crisis, we will also allow Democrats to use normal procedures to pass an American debt limit extension at a fixed dollar amount to cover current spending levels into December. This will moot Democrats' excuses about the time crunch they've created and give unified Democratic government more than enough time to pass a standalone debt limit legislation through reconciliation. Alternatively, if Democrats abandon their efforts to ram through another historically reckless taxing and spending spree that will hurt families and help China, a more traditional bipartisan governing conversation could be possible." That last statement by Mitch McConnell is basically saying, Democrats, if you abandon the stimulus package, we will help increase the debt limit with you permanently on a bipartisan fashion. So that last statement by McConnell is basically him saying, hey, Democrats, if you abandon the stimulus package, we'll vote to fully increase the debt ceiling until next year in a bipartisan fashion. Again, obviously that's not going to happen. Democrats are not going to just completely abandon the stimulus package. Now, Mitch McConnell also just held a press conference explaining exactly why he thinks this debt ceiling crisis is the Democrats' fault. Now, let's take a look and see exactly what he had to say, and let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with McConnell? Do you think it's mostly Democrats' fault? Do you think it's mostly Republicans' fault? Or do you think it's really both of their faults? Let's take a look and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. On the reckless tax and spending bill, it's pretty clear the president has picked a side. He signed up with the progressives, came up and tanked his own infrastructure bill. And as a result of that, they've obviously taken a 1-month pause, which leads me to addressing the debt ceiling. I said in July, I said in August, I said in September, there's a clear path to achieve raising the debt ceiling, which must happen. America must not ever default, and doing it with Democrats only. During the previous reconciliation, they got a ruling from the parliamentarian that it's possible to amend the budget resolution. It's called a 304 process. They've had plenty of time to execute the debt ceiling increase and have chosen not to do it. Now they have plenty more time because clearly the pause button has been pushed on the larger reckless tax and spending bill. I implore them one more time not to play Russian roulette with the American economy. We've been down this path before when you did not have divided government and the party and the majority got the job done. They need to do this. They have the time to do it. And the sooner they get about it, the better, to make sure the markets and the American people know that, as usual, the American government will never, ever default.
Okay, so McConnell making it really, really clear that he himself knows the importance of making sure that the U.S. government never defaults on its debts and never defaults on its payments. Watching that speech, it's very clear that he realizes how devastating that would be for the American government and the global economy at whole, because the U.S. government has already announced that interest rates would skyrocket, the price of food and goods would skyrocket as well, Social Security payments could potentially be frozen at a time when we're actually trying to increase Social Security benefits, right? When President Biden has promised to dramatically increase Social Security benefits, the last thing we need is to have Social Security benefit payments frozen. Now, with that said, guys, this should be coming to a vote tonight. So by the time you're watching this video, it's probably already signed into law. And if not, it's going to happen this Saturday. And then we expect Democrats to work towards finding a permanent solution, as well as approving the next two stimulus packages, potentially a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors, and permanent Social Security increases as well. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will keep you posted on the next two stimulus packages, Social Security changes, and daily news updates as well. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, take care and have a great day.